You are worthy of being in the sort of relationship that lights you up and fulfills you simply because you exist.
Welcome to yourbrilliance.com. I'm your host, Amy Waterman. Now, I don't need to introduce today's guest because you gals know Matt. Mat Shaffer is one of my favorite love and success coaches for women. And I love having him on my show because he wants the same thing I want. He wants you to feel strong and confident and empowered within yourself to make choices that are right for you. And that means saying no to guys who hurt you or make you feel bad about yourself. It means saying no to guys who won't commit or show by their actions that they care. It means saying no to guys who are more interested in getting you into bed than in getting to know you. So this is not about twisting yourself into a pretzel so that you can be what men want. It's about getting in touch with your authentic self, with your inherent beauty, and your worthiness as a woman. And Matt has got an amazing program that can help you with that. So make sure to watch until the very end to find out about the free spot that he is holding open just for you. But you can do all of the personal development work in the world and still run into one huge obstacle. The men you meet don't see your worth. The men you meet don't even bother to look inside you and find out who you truly are. They don't value your uniqueness and your individuality. They treat you like just another warm body. So, how can you connect with men in an age where technology and dating apps and hookup culture are determined to treat you as disposable? Okay, Matt, over to you on that question.
I love it. What an intro. That's fantastic. That was epic. It's so wonderful to be here with you and your audience. I absolutely love your energy and the commitment you are to, helping women step into the empowerment and the relationship that is their birthright. And that's like a great place, I think, to start, is to recognize that, like, being in a healthy, happy, fulfilled relationship, this isn't like something that is like extra or something that is some sort of favor being given to you by the universe. It is your right to be loved and seen and cherished for who you are. Like, this is not something that you should need to twist yourself into a pretzel to create or compromise and sell out on yourself. Like, you are worthy of being in the sort of relationship that lights you up and fulfills you simply because you exist. And that sense of beingness, that sense of worthiness, is something that I'm always inviting women through the work that I do with them in my programs and containers and everything, and in my coaching, to step into that, owning that inherent value that you have within yourself, because that's the energy that you have to embody, that you get to embody as you go into online dating, as you go into any container where men are, where other people are. If you embody that energy will not only filter out a lot of the shenanigans, a lot of the men out there that are looking to, use you for X, Y, and Z, but it's also going to help you call in and attract the right sort of men that are going to be reflecting that back to you. It's always a mirror for you in a lot of ways.
And what I love, see, this is why I love your advice, because you've got a background in personal development, you've done emotional intelligence leadership coaching, and a lot of the advice out there is not like that. A lot of the advice out there is teaching us to treat men like a means to an end. So it says, right, a man is what you need to have a relationship. And if you want a relationship, then you should have that with this man. And it's okay to use whatever means necessary, right? There's all these psychological tricks to overcome a man's resistance. And
Yeah.
that
And,
worries
and,
me
and
because
it's
it's
well,
very different.
and what's so interesting about that, sorry to jump in, but just like we talk about how men and women energetically mirror each other. So you got to think about, if you're going into dating and relationship looking to strategically manipulate a man to get what you want, which is a relationship, you have to recognize that, unfortunately, what you're going to end up doing is attracting men who are also looking to strategically manipulate you to get what they want, which is sex and, yada yada. So it's like you're actually sabotaging the relationship you want by being like, oh, let me get him addicted to me by leaning back and texting him this and saying this and feigning interest here and not doing stuff there. It's like, if you go into any container and you say, I'm going to play games to get what I want, that's exactly what you're going to get back from men, is like men that are playing games to get what they want. So yeah, that strategy never works as a long-term way to call in a healthy relationship.
No. One of the things I hear from a lot of women is even when they enter into relationships now with integrity, they're still getting that behavior back. And a real culprit is, of course, technology. Dating when it was meeting people in person in your community was very different from going on to a dating app and texting somebody to arrange a date. And one of the things I hear a lot from women is how rude men have become compared to in the past. They suggest a lot sex a lot sooner online than they would in person. When a woman says she's not interested, I've seen some really horrible texts they get back from these men. And so what's happening is it's making women not want to put themselves out there because they don't know how to protect themselves from kind of what technology has done to the dating scene.
I completely understand that. And again, there's always two ways to look at, there's always a myriad of ways to look at anything, right? So like we can look at online dating and look at all the things that are dark about it, right? That the lack of accountability, the lack of personal accountability that comes with the internet, that comes with technology, give men a license to just be terrible, right? And it attracts a certain demographic of men, right? We can create stories like that, and we can sit there and be like, wow, well, online dating is just a nightmare. I guess I'm going to go back to the bars, or I'm going to go back to somewhere else, or even worse, right? I'm not going to try it all. I'm going to stop putting myself out there, right? And when that happens, that's actually going to be counter to everything we're looking to create, because like there's another way for us to like look at the technology of dating and be like, wow, how cool is it that I now have the opportunity to connect with basically an infinity of men who, at least on paper, say that they want a connection or a relationship. And I have an opportunity to use this technology to practice discernment, to practice creating polarity with a spectrum of men, right? Where if I was at a bar, I could only talk to one guy at a time. If I was, whatever. But if on here, I can talk to 10 men, and I can practice being in polarity. I can practice being in my feminine. I can practice setting boundaries with all these men. And most importantly, I can practice non-attachment to outcome. Because I have found in my own work with 25,000 women worldwide, over the last, like handful of years, that like one of the greatest assets you have in being in calling in and manifesting a powerful relationship is practicing non-attachment, practicing being in your feminine, and saying to yourself and really like telling yourself, like, it doesn't matter how this turns out, and it doesn't matter how this person treats me. All that matters is that I show up as my fullest expression. And the more that you're willing to give yourself permission to just practice that and stop making your emotional state contingent upon how these guys are acting, the more embodied you become, and the better men you start to call in. It's a process, rather than an outcome generating mechanism. Like you get to fall in love with the process of dating, even though sometimes obviously it can get challenging. I completely understand that.
And that is non-attachment is what enables women to say no. Because I think one of the hardest things, I'll just speak for me, is one of my biggest struggles in life right now, and it's been this way for a long time, is politeness. So I am always polite, and I always try to give the other person the most generous interpretation possible. And if the other person says something that is kind of off, I just pretend I didn't hear it, and I go on and be polite. And so what I have found is that I have been trained to be polite in order to make people like me. But then when it comes to situations where the other person is actually not behaving appropriately, I struggle to say no. I struggle to call them out on their behavior, and I struggle to detach, because even though that person is mean, I still don't want to be rude, and I don't want to make them hate me. So how would you suggest for women who are really finding that their need to be polite is keeping them from practicing healthy boundaries?
Yeah, I think that's I love that. And I bet a lot of women out there listening to this are like listening to this and they're like, yes, I have that same thing. And I have that same inherent impulses as well, right? It's called being a people pleaser, and it's called it all flows right from this story we created in childhood that, in order to be liked and appreciated by people, that we have to be super nice, and that making other people like us is the most important thing, even if it means compromising and selling out on ourselves in a lot of ways. And it's one of the most self-destructive patterns that exists in human behavior, because like we end up putting ourselves in a box and pretzeling and selling out on ourselves just to make other people like us, even other people that are not being respectful, even other people like that are on dating apps and everything that are just like not people that we even want to be in relationship with. And so like what something I come back to again and again with my clients and my students is, this is all this dating apps, all these dating apps, all this dating process is a powerful opportunity for you to practice owning your voice and setting boundaries, showing up in your full expression, in your full truth. And it can be really hard to do, right, when you're face to face with a family member who you've been people pleasing to for 20, 30, 40 years. So online dating with some guy that you've known for 20 minutes is actually a great opportunity for you to be like, oh, hey, like that didn't really feel good to hear that from you in that way, because you can set boundaries with somebody in a feminine way, right? I think a lot of women have fears around setting boundaries because they're afraid that boundaries are masculine. They're afraid if they tell someone something that they don't like, they don't want to hear, that they're going to push them away. But the truth is that men oftentimes, like, we want boundaries. Like, we want to know what your boundaries are, right? We appreciate that both in dating and in relationship. And so, there's a lot of freedom and liberation in you being like, hey, it didn't feel good when you said that, or I'd appreciate it if it would really feel nice if you planned out our dates ahead of time instead of asking me last minute, so I can plan out the rest of my week. Like setting positive, constructive invitations, as boundaries. Like those are really powerful, and there's no better place to do it than in online dating or dating in general.
Okay, so I want to ask you about a specific scenario and see how. And you have talked about this before on my show, but I really want you to talk about it again because I just remember what a wonderful answer you gave last time. So the scenario is we've got a woman who is doing online dating. Maybe she hasn't done it for a while, and she's noticing how sexual things get. Like this guy has not even seen her in person, and he's making suggestive comments, and she thinks, "Oh, is this just how flirting is done nowadays?" She starts to think, gosh, if I tell him I'm uncomfortable with that, if I say, well, actually, I kind of want to know you pretty well before we get into bed, he dumps her like a hot potato. So she thinks, gosh, maybe then I'm just too old for this. Maybe this isn't going to work because I don't feel comfortable getting sexual that fast. How would you suggest she learn to set boundaries that make her feel comfortable and continue the pleasure of dating?
Yeah. Well, in that situation, and again, another great thing that boundaries do, right, is that they are a good filter. They're a good filtration system that stop you from spending time or expending time and energy on men who are just simply not in alignment. Like you guys just don't have aligned goals and interests. And a lot of times, if a guy is trying to be, and I've online dated literally for 20 years, like since the very birth of the industry. Like when I was 19 in college, I was on the first Plenty of Fish, OK Cupid, like way back in the day, and off and on throughout my whole life, in between relationships and everything, I've online dated. So I get it. I understand it 100%. And when a guy is testing being really sexual before he's met you, that's usually a pretty big red flag, because that's a guy who is potentially just trying to see what your tolerance is for being, sexual early on, because that's his goal, is to try to get to that process, to get to sexual intimacy with you as quickly as possible. That's all he's looking for, so that's most likely the situation, and that's an opportunity for you to, in a feminine way, but not necessarily. Some guys just have kind of a dirty sense of humor. I have a dirty sense of humor. I will occasionally have in past, I mean, I'm in a wonderful relationship now, but I've been getting to know someone, and I've made a dirty joke before knowing if they're okay with that, and occasionally I've offended a woman that I was getting to know, and so like the opportunity is just to first off assume the best, right? Assume like, oh, well, maybe they're just, that's just kind of their personality. And maybe I can, like rein them in by sharing a boundary. So in that situation, I'd be like, oh, wow. Well, I appreciate taking things, slow in that regard. I appreciate taking things slow. I appreciate taking my time, when it comes to getting to know somebody. So, I'm not going to tell you anything like that yet, or like, let's slow down a little bit, Sparky, like just like jokingly, playfully, sort of like inviting them to course correct. That's always a great first step, is to assume the best and make a loving invitation for them to course correct if they say something that you feel is inappropriate or doesn't make you feel good, rather than being like, hey, that didn't make me feel good. Like when you're retaliatory with a guy, like early on, like that has a tendency to put him into like a fear state or a trauma state. So make a loving invitation, always first, and see how he responds. If he gets defensive, if he gets angry, if he gets crappy with you about it, then like, okay, this guy is clearly someone that you just get to release,
Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful word. I like that, release.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because it's all about, it's not about cutting things off or breaking up with somebody, or like, it doesn't need to be so violent. It's all about calling in someone who's in alignment for who you are and where you're at, and releasing all those who are not in alignment, and that's it.
I really like that. So, this is your area of expertise. You are a master in the art of connection, and you're trying to build these bridges between men and women so that we can reach across the divide and we can find each other. So, I want to know, what is dating with the goal of connection look like, and how is that different from how most of us usually are taught to date?
Yeah, well, the way dating has gone, I think, for a long time, and the way a lot of people are programmed to date, is that it's like this sort of like messed up reality show where it's like, okay, well, I'm here to find my person. There is one person that gets the final rose of my commitment of life, and every person is auditioning for that role, and they put all this pressure on themselves. And dating is an outcome fixated just journey, and so there's a ton of pressure, there's a ton of stress, women have a tendency, people have a tendency to take personally everything that someone else is doing to them, everything that someone else is doing to them in dating and relationship, right? And I have a pretty radical reframe around that like I know, of course, you want to have a goal, you want to have a vision of calling in that wonderful relationship, calling in a beautiful, heart-centered, fulfilling relationship with someone. And also, right, the journey to that is a process, right? It's a process, right? And the process a lot of times takes time, and that's okay, because you grow so much in the process of basically coming into that relationship, that the invitation I make to everyone that I work with, right, is to fall in love with the process of dating. Fall in love with the chaos and the craziness, and recognize that the process of dating and getting to know men is an opportunity for you to practice embodying, finding and discovering and embodying your divine feminine expression, finding and embodying your own boundaries, healing the wounds you may have around men and around the masculine through the container of dating and relationship, like being in polarity with the masculine, which is within a relational container of you're connecting with somebody, you're in your feminine, he's in his masculine, and there's this like electricity between the two of you, this like beautiful bond and connection. Like practicing polarity is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself, and it's absolutely essential to cultivating attraction and deep relationship. And the only way you can do that is with a dance. The only way you can learn how to dance is dancing with a partner. You can't practice partner dancing by yourself. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you can fall in love with dating as a practice in personal development, as a practice of self-expression, as a practice of dancing in polarity, and a practice of non-attachment, and just like step into it with that energy, like it becomes a completely different journey, and you grow so much faster, and you call in a partner so much faster than when every person you're dating is like a baby daddy audition or is like a soulmate audition. Like that doesn't work nearly as well, right?
Yeah. So this is why I love sending women to your courses and programs, because you're seeing this as personal development, right? Your goal for women is not just, okay, get a guy, but your goal for women is to have an entire life they love. And that starts often with their relationship with themselves. So I want to know
Mhm.
more about the ways that your Mastery of Connection course, which you are actually offering a free spot to our viewers, helps women change the course of their lives.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I appreciate that. And yeah, Mastery Connection is a course that I developed based upon working with hundreds of women in one-on-one coaching and throughout my career as a coach. That really, the principle fundamentally is it helps you transform your connections and relationships with men from the inside out. Right. Because as I shared earlier, every relationship with others is a mirror for your relationship with yourself. It's a mirror for kind of where you're at in your own growth and development. So we really start by deep diving into and unpacking your beliefs around relationship, your beliefs around yourself, your beliefs around love and worthiness. And I take you through a process that helps you identify those beliefs and then shift them into beliefs that are actually empowering you and bringing you closer to the relationship that you want. Because at the end of the day, if your beliefs are not in order, it doesn't matter if you call in the greatest man you have ever experienced in your life. If you do not have beliefs that are in alignment with that person that you called in, guess what, buttercup? It ain't gonna last. You're not gonna be able to sustain it. Your beliefs are the foundation of everything. So we do it's a 3-week journey overall. The first week is belief work, and there's going to be 15 video lessons throughout the whole course. And the first week is belief work. The second week is going to be all around attachment style and helping you really unpack your attachment style, right? I give you a test to do, and we identify what your attachment style really means and how that attachment style influences your dating and relationships and everything. And also your personality type. So your personality type, whether you're a controller or an analyzer or a supporter, like your person, basically you want to build inner awareness around who you are, how you relate to others, and how you relate to yourself. And so that we're going to be unpacking all that stuff and helping you transform the way you connect from the inside out. Then in the third week, I give you a whole week of live workshops with me. Okay. So I'm going to be doing live workshops around love and dating and relationship. I mean, you're going to be getting dozens of hours of live coaching from me. Both you're going to be getting office hours during the first 2 weeks where you can ask me questions, get live coaching from me around everything going on in your life and in your relationships and with the curriculum. And then in the third week, we're going to be doing live coaching for a whole week around different aspects of magnetism and men and relationships. So it's a really amazing journey, and to do it together in a collective with women from around the world is really it's really profound to be part of that community and that collective experience.
And what is crazy is that you're offering all of this free to every one of our viewers. So, how in the world do they get this great deal for no cost?
Well, all they have to do is go and fill out an application, because this is basically it is like a beta test. So it's free to be a part of this course. All I ask for in exchange is that you give me your feedback. You give me feedback, you give me any testimonials if you have breakthroughs like using the curriculum. And all I'm looking to do is create the best course possible, and create the most beautiful process possible. And so the feedback I get from the women that, take part in this is what allows me to make changes and make it even better. So all they have to do is click that application link that you're sharing with this video and fill out a brief application, and then they'll get, my team will review it, and then they'll get a response letting them know if they've been accepted.
And it all kicks off Monday,
Going to kick on
October 10th.
October 10th, Monday, October 10th. And so it's going to be running from October 10th through Halloween. It's going to be so much fun. And yeah, we're going to have a really powerful transformational process. I guarantee you, if you go through this process with us and you commit to doing the work, you will emerge from it 3 weeks later with a new set of beliefs, a new vision for a relationship, a new understanding of what's possible for you. And you're going to be moving towards it. It's going to be a
Now,
lot of
what
fun.
if somebody is watching this after the October 10th start date? Can they still get in?
Well, what they can do, yes, absolutely. They can anytime during the 3 weeks, if they fill out an application and they get accepted, we will automatically add them to the course. They'll still be able to jump in midway through. And even if you are joining through in the last week or the last handful of days, you can still get a ton of value hopping in and doing as much work as you can. There's a lot of value to be created in that process. And then even if it's after the end of the course, I still recommend that you sign up, because you'll be put on the wait list for our next course. And I'll also be, emailing with other opportunities of stuff that I'll be sharing with you guys over the weeks to come. So even if it's after October 31st, be sure to still sign up, and you'll be the first person to get access to my next amazing opportunity, which I'm always releasing new stuff.
Very cool. Now, for those of you watching, I just have to say, this is such an incredible opportunity, and I feel so grateful every time I get to invite Mat onto the show and offer you his wisdom, his insight, and all of the tools he has for women who want to attract the love of your life. So even if you feel that you are a complete expert in dating, right? You have read every piece of dating advice ever written, it still doesn't compare to working with an actual dating coach in a supportive community of lots of other women in the same shoes. You will leave this experience feeling energized, feeling more confident, and filled with the belief that you can do this thing, right? You can create the life of your dreams. So if you are ready to say yes, just go to yourbrilliance.org/Mat. That's yourbrilliance.org/MAT, and you can fill out the application form right now. Thank you so much, Mat, for coming onto the show. And I wondered if you had any final thoughts you would like to leave our viewers with.
Absolutely. I appreciate that so much, Amy. And to everybody who's watching this, I just want to really ground in for a second and let you know that no matter what you have experienced up until now, no matter what pain you have experienced, no matter the heartbreak, the disappointment, no matter how jaded and cynical you feel about love or about possibility in your life right now, that everything is possible for you. Healing is possible. Growth is possible. Love is possible. I have seen it with thousands of women, and I've experienced it myself in my own life. So transformation is possible, and it's waiting for you. And all it takes is you having the courage to say, you know what? I know things haven't worked out for me up until now, or I know I'm not feeling great right now, but I have the courage to say, yes, I want this. I want to change, and I want to call in something that really feels good to me. You can do that. And I hope that you come along with us and embark on that journey with us, because we will help you get there. I promise.
Thank you so much, Mat, for coming on. And thank you for all of you out there watching. Now, did you have any insights or aha moments while watching this interview? If so, let us know what you really resonated with in the comments. And for more interviews like these, make sure to subscribe to Your Brilliance here on YouTube. And then make sure to check us out at yourbrilliance.com for more tips and insights on how you can live your most brilliant life. See you next time.